In this video, we will demonstrate how to set preferences for users and user groups in Spectrum OneClick, with a focus on creating alarm filters for groups to use. We have 3 different groups of operators who need certain alarm filters in place. We'll create these filters for one group and export them to another group. I'm going to start with the EU operators group I created in a previous demonstration. In the Users tab, right-click the user group and select Set Preferences. There are several preferences to set here at the user group level. We're going to focus on creating those alarm filters. Expand the Alarms tab by double-clicking and select Alarm Filter. Click Set Alarm Filter. The first alarm filter I want to make will actually be no filter at all. In this window, I won't select any attributes and leave everything as is. I'll click Add and enter the name No Filter. Now, when a user from the EU operators group logs in, they will have the No Filter option in their Alarms tab. This is useful for quickly clearing any applied filters in the tab. Let's create a few more simple filters. How about one to filter only router models? Click the Model Class tab. Then, click the double right arrow to move everything here into the Hide panel. Use the Filter text box at the bottom to filter for only models containing router. It's faster than scrolling and searching manually. Select Router and click the left arrow to move it into the Show panel. Then, do the same for Switch Router. Click Add and name this filter. I'm going to name it Router Filter. Very straightforward. When you click OK, the alarm filter window closes. However, because we had left our selection on Router Filter, that means this is our default filter for this user. And when we click Set Alarm Filter again, it will automatically load the settings for the router filter. That's okay, because the next filter we want to create will be similar. I want a filter for all server models. Click the Model Class tab. Move Router and Switch Router into Hide. Filter for Server and move Workstation Server into Show. But I don't just want to filter every model with the Workstation Server class. I want those models to also have the word Server in their name. So I'm going to click the Attributes tab and set an attribute criteria. If you've already taken our course on organizing models or are familiar with how to create searches, this tab should look very familiar. I'm going to select the Name attribute, set the comparison type to Contains, and make sure Ignore Case is checked. Then I'll enter the word Server in the attribute value. Now the filter will show only alarms on Workstation Server models that contain the word Server in their names. Click Add and name this filter Server Filter. There are the 3 filters we've created for the EU operators user group: No Filter, Router Filter, and Server Filter. When any user from this group logs in to the OneClick console, they will have those 3 filters available in their Alarms tab. We can share these filters with other user groups as well. Instead of manually creating each filter for every user group, we can export or import preferences. Importing preferences replaces current preferences with those of another user group. Exporting preferences copies current preferences to those of another user group. Down in the lower right of the Set Preferences window, click Export. The Export Preferences window shows us the preferences that will be exported. Here, we could check or uncheck preferences as necessary, if there were 1 or 2 we didn't want to apply to another user group. Click OK, and select the user group to export preferences to. If necessary, use Ctrl or Shift to select more than one group. Click OK, and the preferences are exported to the selected groups. When we right-click NA Operators and select Set Preferences, we can see the alarm filters we originally created for the EU operators in the Alarm Filter dialog. If necessary, we can lock preferences at the user or user group level, preventing individual users from changing certain preferences. By checking the locked box next to Alarm Filter, we can ensure that users in the NA Operators group who log into OneClick cannot add, edit, or remove alarm filters themselves. There are many preferences to customize at the user group level in OneClick. We can, for example, set the initial view of the Explorer tab. By selecting the US Coastal Global Collection and the Topology tab, we ensure that when a user in the NA Operators group logs into OneClick, Their initial view is of the topology of the models in the U.S. Coastal Global Collection. We can lock any preferences as necessary for business requirements. It is not recommended to lock preferences related to visual or auditory elements of OneClick to preserve user accessibility. Set preferences to ensure users have only the information required and can complete their tasks as efficiently as possible.